Chapter 4. The Keeper of the Keys. Boom. They knocked again. Dudley jerked awake. "Where is the cannon?" he said stupidly. There was a crash behind them, and Uncle Vernon came skidding into the room. He was holding a rifle in his hand. Now they knew what had been in the long, thin package he had brought with them. "Who's there?" he shouted. "I warned you. I'm armed." There was a pause, then smash. The door was hit with such force that it swung clean of its hinges and with a deafening crash landed flat on the floor. A giant of a man was standing in the doorway. His face was almost completely hidden by a long, shaggy mane of hair and a wild, tangled beard, but you could make out his eyes, glitting like black beetle under all the hair. The giant squeezed his way into the hut, stooping so that his head just brushed the ceiling. He bent down, picked up the door, and fitted it easily back into the frame. The noise of the storm outside dropped a little. He turned and looked at them all. "Couldn't make us a cup of tea, could you? It's not been an easy journey." He strode over to the sofa where Dudley sat frozen with fear. "Bug up, you great lump," said the stranger. Dudley squeaked and ran in to hide behind his mother, who was crouching terrified behind Uncle Vernon. "And here is Harry," said the giant. Harry looked up into the fierce, wild, shadowy face and saw that the beetle eye were crinkled in a smile. "Last time I saw you, you was only a baby," said the giant. "Yeah, you looked like a lot of your dad, but you have got your mom's eyes." Uncle Vernon made a funny rasping noise. "I demanded that you leave at once." "Sit," he said. "You are breaking and entering." "Oh, shut up, Dursley, you great pawn," said the giant. He reached over the back of the sofa, jerked the gun out of Uncle Vernon's hand, bent it into a knot as easily as if it had been made of rubber, and threw it into a corner of the room. Uncle Vernon made another funny noise, like a mouse being trodden on. "Anyway," Harry said the giant, turning his back on the Dursleys, "a very happy birthday to you. Got some for you here. I might sat on it at some point, but it'll taste alright." From an inside pocket of his black overcoat, he pulled a slightly squashed box. Harry opened it with trembling finger. Inside was a large sticky chocolate cake with "Happy Birthday, Harry" written on it in a green icing. Harry looked up at the giant. He meant to say thank you, but the word got lost on the way his mouth, and what he said instead was, "Who are you?" The giant chuckled. "True, I haven't introduced myself. Rubius Hagrid, keeper of the keys and grounds at Hogwarts." He held out an enormous hand and shook Harry's whole arm. "What about the tea then?" He said, rubbing his hand together. "I had not said no to some strange stronger if you have got it mine." His eyes fell on the empty grate with the shriveled chip bags in it, and he snorted. He bent down over the fireplace. They couldn't see what he was doing, but when he drew back a second later, there was a roaring fire there. It filled the whole damn hut with flickering light, and Harry felt the warmth wash over him as though he sunk into the hot bath. The giant sat back down on the sofa with sack under his weight and began talking of all sorts of things out of the pocket of his coat. A copper kettle, a squashy package of sausage, a poker, a teapot, several chipped mugs, and a bottle of some amber liquid that he took a swing from before starting to make tea. Soon the hut was full of the sound of smell of sizzling sausages. Nobody said a thing while the giant was working, but as he slid the first six fat salty, juicy, slightly burnt sausage from the poker. Dudley frightened a little. Uncle Vernon said sharply, "Don't touch anything he gives to you, Dudley." The giant chuckled darkly. "With great pudding of a son don't need fattening anymore. Dursley, don't worry." He passed the sausage to Harry, who was so hungry he had never tasted anything so wonderful, but he still couldn't take his eye off the giant. Finally, as nobody seemed about to explain anything, he said, "I'm sorry, but I still don't really know who you are." The giant took a gulp of tea and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "Call me Hagrid," he said. "Everyone does. And like I told you, I'm a keeper of the keys at Hogwarts." "You'll know all about Hogwarts, of course, said Harry. Hagrid looked shocked. "Sorry," Harry said quickly. "Sorry," barked Hagrid, turning to stare at the Dursley, who shoved back into the shadow. "It's them as should be sorry. I knew you weren't getting your letter, but I never thought you wouldn't even know about Hogwarts." First time, out loud. "Did you never wonder where your parents learned it all?" "All what?" asked Harry. "All what?" Hagrid thundered. "Now wait just 1 second." He had leapt to his feet in his anger. He seemed to fill the whole hut. The Dursleys were cowering against the wall. "Do you mean to tell me," he growled at the Dursleys, "that this boy knows nothing about anything?" Harry thought this was going to a bit far. He had been to school after all, and his marks weren't bad. "I know something," he said. "I can, do math and stuff." But Hagrid simply waved his hand and said, "About our word, I mean your word, my word, your parents' word." "What word?" Hagrid looked as if he was about to explode. "Dursley," he boomed. Uncle Vernon, who had gone very pale, whispered something that sounded like "Mimble, Wimble." Hagrid started wildly at Harry. "But you must know about your mom and dad," he said. "I mean, they are famous. You are famous." "What? My mom and dad were famous? Were they?" "Don't know? You don't know?" Hagrid ran his fingers through his hair, fixing Harry with a bewildered stare. "You don't know what you are," he said finally. Uncle Vernon suddenly found his voice. "Stop," he commanded. "Stop right there. Sit. I forbid you to tell the boy anything." A braver man than Vernon Dursley would have quailed under the furious look Hagrid now gave him. When Hagrid spoke, his every syllable teemed with rage. "You never told him what was in the letter Dumbledore left for him?" "I was there. I saw Dumbledore leave it, Dursley." "And you have kept it from him all these years?" "Kept what from me?" said Harry eagerly. "Stop. I forbid you," yelled Uncle Vernon in panic. Aunt Putania gave a gasp of horror. "Oh, go boil your heads, both of you," said Hagrid. "Harry, you are a wizard." There was silence inside the hut. Only the sea and whistling wind could be heard. "A what?" gasped Harry. "A wizard." "Of course," said Hagrid, sitting back down on the sofa, which groaned at snack. "Even lower and a thumb good un. I'd said once you have been trained up a bit with a mom and dad like yours. What else would you be? And I reckon it's about time you read your letter." Harry stretched out his hand at last to take the yellowish envelope. "Address in emerald green to Mr. H. Potter." The floor hut on the rock, the sea. Pulled out the letter and read. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Headmaster Albus Dumbledore. Order of Merlin, First Class, Grand Sword, Chief Worklog, Supreme Mug, International Confer of Wizard. Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of all necessary books and equipments. Term begin on September 1st. We await your owl by no later than July 31st. Yours sincerely, Minerva McGonagall, Deputy Headmistress. Question explode inside Harry's head like fireworks, and he couldn't decide which to ask first. After a few minutes, he stammered, "What does it mean?" They waited my owl. Galloping Chargons, that reminds me, said Hagrid, clapping a hand to his forehead with enough force to knock over a cart horse, and from another pocket inside his overcoat he pulled an owl, a real live, rather rougher looking owl, a long quill and a roll of parchment. With his tongue between his teeth, he scribbled a note that Harry couldn't read upside down. Dear Professor Dumbledore, given Harry his letter, begging him to buy his thinking things tomorrow. Weather's horrible. Hope you are well. Hagrid. Hagrid rolled up the note, gave it to the owl, which clammed in its beak, went to the door and threw the owl out into the storm. Then he came back and sat down as though he was as normal as talking on the telephone. Harry realized his mouth was open and closed it quickly. There was I, said Hagrid. But at that moment, Uncle Vernon, still a sad-faced but looking very angry, moved into the firelight. He's not going, he said. Hagrid grunted. I'd like to see a great muggle like you stop him, he said. A what? Said Harry, interested. A muggle, said Hagrid. It's what we call non-magic folk like them. And it's your bad luck you grew up in a family of the biggest muggle I ever laid eyes on. We swore when we took him in we had put a stop to the rubbish, said Uncle Vernon. Swore. We had stamped it out of him, wizard indeed. You knew, said Harry. You knew I'm a wizard. Knew? Shrieked Aunt Petunia suddenly. Knew? Of course we knew. How could you not be my dreaded sister's being what she was? Oh, she got a letter just like that and disappeared off that at school and came home every vacation with her pocket full of frog spawn. Turning teacup into rat was the only one who saw her for what she was, a prick. For my mother and father, oh no, it was Lily this and Lily that. They were proud of having a witch in a family. She stopped and drew a deep breath and then went ratting on. It seemed she had been waiting to say all this for years. Then she met that Potter at school and they left and got married and had you. And of course I knew you had be just the same, just as strange as normal. And then if you please, she went and got herself blew up and we got landed with you. Harry had gone very white. As soon as he found his voice, he said, blown up? You told me they died in a car crash. Car crash, roared Hagrid, jumping up so angrily that the Dursleys started back to their corner. How could a car crash kill Lily and James Potter? It's an outrage, a scandal. Harry Potter not knowing his own story when every kid in our world knows his name. But why? What happened? Harry asked urgently. The anger faded from Hagrid's face. He looked suddenly anxious. I never expected this, he said in a low, worried voice. I had no idea when Dumbledore told me there might be trouble getting you hold of you how much you didn't know. Oh, Harry, I don't know I am the right person to tell you, but some of what you can't go off to Hogwarts not knowing. He threw a dirty look at Dursley. Well, it's best you know as much as I can tell you. Mind, I can tell you everything. It's a great mystery, part of it. He sat down, started into the fire for a few seconds, and then said, "It began, I suppose, with a person called, but it's incredible you don't know his name. Everyone in our world knows who. Well, I don't like saying the name if I can help it. No one does. Why do?" Gulping growls, Harry Potter. People are still scared. Believe me, this is difficult. See, there was this wizard who went bad as you could go. Worse, worse than worse. His name was Hagrid God, but no word came out. Could you write it down? Harry suggested. Nah, I can't spell it. All right, Voldemort. Hagrid stuttered. Don't make me say it again. Anyway, this wizard about 20 years ago now started looking for followers. Got them too. Some were afraid, some just wanted a bit of his power, because he was getting himself powerful, alright. Dark day, Harry don't know who to trust. Didn't dare get friendly with strange wizard of witches. Terrible things happened. He was taking a course. Some stood up to him and he killed them horribly. One of the only safe places left was Hogwarts. Stone Dumbledore, the only one you know who was afraid of, didn't dare try taking the school, not just then anyway. Now your mum and dad were as good witch as and wizard as I ever knew. Great boy and girl at Hogwarts in their days. Suppose the mystery is why no who never tried to get them on his side before. Probably knew they were too closer to Dumbledore to want anything to do with the dark side. Maybe he thought he could pursue them. Maybe he just wanted to out the way. All anyone know is the turned up in the village where you was all living. On Halloween 10 years ago, you were just a year old. He came to your house and Hagrid suddenly pulled out a very dirty spotted handkerchief and blew his nose with a sound like a foghorn. Sorry, he said. It's that sad. Knew your mom dad was nicer people you couldn't find anyway. You know who killed them and this is the real mystery of the thing. He tried to kill you too. Wanted to make a clean job of it, I suppose. Or maybe he just killing by them, but he couldn't do it. Never wonder how you got that mark on your forehead. That was no ordinary cut. That's what you got when a powerful evil force touches you. Fear of your mom and dad and your house even but didn't work on you and that's why you're famous, Harry. No one ever lived after he decided to kill them. No one except you. And he'll kill some of the best witches and wizards of the years. The Macan, the Bones and the Pirates. And you was only baby and you lived. Something very painful was going on in Harry's mind as Hagrid's story came to close. He saw again the blinding flash of green light more clearly than he had ever remembered it before. And he remembered something else for the first time in his life, a high cold, cruel laugh. Hagrid was watching him sadly. Took you from the ruined house myself on Dumbledore's order. Brought you to this lot of old trash, said Uncle Vernon. Harry jumped. He had almost forgotten that Dursleys were there. Uncle Vernon certainly seemed to have got back his courage. He was glaring at Hagrid and his fists were clenched. Now you listen here, boy, he sneered. I accept there's something strange about you. Probably nothing a good beating wouldn't have cured. And as for all this about your parents, well, they were weirdo. No denying it. And the world's better off without them, in my opinion. Ask for all they got. Getting mixed up with these wizarding types. Just what I expect. Always knew they had come to sticky end. But at that moment, Hagrid leaped from the sofa and drew a battered pink umbrella from inside his coat, pointing this at Uncle Vernon like a snort. He said, "I'm warning you, Dursley. I'm warning you. One more word in danger of being speared on the end of umbrella by bearded giant." Uncle Vernon's courage failed again. He flattened himself against the wall and fell silent. "That's better," said Hagrid, breathing heavily and sitting back down on the sofa, which this time sat right down to the floor. Harry, meanwhile, still had a question to ask, hundreds of them. But what happened to Wall? Sorry, I mean you know who. Good question. Harry disappeared, vanished. Same night he tried to kill you. Makes you even more famous. That's the biggest mystery. See, he was getting more and more powerful. Why he go? Some say he died or swallowed, in my opinion. Do know if he had enough human left in him to die. Some say he is still out there bidding his time. Like, but I don't believe it. People who was on his side came back to us. Some of them came out kinda fresh. Don't reckon they would have done if he was coming back. Most of us reckon he's still out there somewhere, but lost his power too weak to carry on. Cause melting out you finished him, Harry. There was something going on that night he hadn't counted on. I don't know what it was. No one does. But something about you stumped him all right. Harry looked at Harry with warmth and respect, blazing his eyes, but Harry, instead of feeling pleased and proud, felt squashed. But Harry, instead of feeling pleased and proud, felt quite sure that he had been a variable mistake. A wizard, him? How could he possibly be? He had spent his life being clouted by Dudley and bullied by Aunt Putania and Uncle Vernon. If he was really a wizard, why hadn't they been turned into what he told every time they had tried to lock him in the cupboard? If he had once But Harry, instead of feeling pleased and proud, felt quite sure that he had been a variable mistake. A wizard, him? How could he possibly be? He had spent his life being clouted by Dudley and bullied by Aunt Putania and Uncle Vernon. If he was really a wizard, why hadn't they been turned into what he told every time they had tried to lock him in the cupboard? If he had once defeated the greatest sorcerer in the world, how come Dudley had always been able to kick him around like a football? Hagrid, he said quickly, I think you must have made a mistake. I don't think you can be wizard. To his surprise, Hagrid chuckled. Not a wizard? Yeah. Never made things happen when you was scared or angry. Harry looked into the fire. Now he came to think about it. Every odd thing that had ever made his aunt and uncle furious with him had happened when Harry had been upset or angry, chased by Dudley's gang, he had somehow found himself out of their reach. During going to school with the ridiculous haircut, he had managed to make it grow back, and the very first time Dudley had hit him, hadn't he got it? Revenge without even realizing he was doing it. Hadn't he sat a boa constrictor on him? Harry looked back at Hagrid, smiling, and saw that Hagrid was positively beaming at him. See, said Hagrid. Harry Potter, not a wizard. You wait. You'll be right famous at Hogwarts. But Uncle Vernon wasn't going to give in without a fight. Haven't I told you? He said, not going. He hissed. He's going to Stonewall High and he'll be grateful for it. I have read those letters and he needs all sorts of rubbish. Spell book and wants and blah blah blah. If he wants to go, a great muggle like you won't stop him. Growled Hagrid. Stop Lily and James Potter's sons going Hogwarts. You're mad. His name's been down ever since he was born. He's off to the finest school of witchcraft and wizardry in the world, even years there, and he won't know himself. He'll be with youngsters of his own sort for a change, and he'll be under the greatest headmaster Hogwarts ever had, Albus Dumbledore. I'm not paying for some crackpot old fool to teach him magic tricks, yelled Uncle Vernon. But he had finally gone too far. Hagrid seized his umbrella and whirled it over his head. Never, he thundered. Insult Albus Dumbledore turned to me. He brought the umbrella swishing down through the air to point at Dudley. There was a flash of violet light, a sound like a firecracker, a sharp squeal, and the next second Dudley was dancing on the spot with his hand clapping over his fat bottom, howling in pain. When he turned his back on them, Harry saw a curly pigtail putting through a hole in his trousers. Uncle Vernon roared, pulling Aunt Petunia and Dudley into the other room. He cast one last terrified look at Hagrid and slammed the door behind him. Hagrid looked down at his umbrella and stroked his beard. Shouldn't lose me my temper, he said truthfully. But it didn't work anyway. Meant to turn him into a pig, but I suppose he was so much like a pig anyway, there wasn't much left to do. He cast a sideway look at Harry under his bushy eyebrow. Be grateful to you didn't mention that to anyone at Hogwarts, he said. I'm not supposed to do magic. Strictly speaking, I was allowed to do a bit to follow you, get your letter to you and stuff. One of the reasons I was so keen to take on the job. Why aren't you supposed to do magic? Asked Harry. Oh well, I was at Hogwarts myself, but I got expelled to tell you truth. In my third year, they stabbed me, wound in half and everything. But Dumbledore let me stay on the gate as a gatekeeper. Great man Dumbledore. Why weren't you expelled? It's getting late and we have got lots to do tomorrow, said Hagrid loudly. Gotta get up to town, get all your books and that. He looked off this thick black coat and threw it to Harry. You can keep under that, he said. Don't mind, it is wriggled a bit. I think I still got a couple of dromes in one of the pockets. That's it for today. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for next chapter. Bye bye.